I thought my wife was cheating, but the truth was far worse. It all started innocently enough, or at least I thought so. I'd noticed my wife, Steph, spending a lot more time on her phone than usual. It wasn't just the time she spent, though. It was the way she acted while doing it. Steph had never been much of a tech person, so when her phone practically became an extension of her hand, it was strange. Even more odd was the way she'd smile at the screen, sometimes even giggling, her eyes lighting up like they did when we first started dating. That look of love and excitement. I recognized it all too well. It was the same one she used to give me. Now it seemed like her attention was entirely focused on someone else. At first I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe she had found a new hobby or was catching up with old friends. But the more I saw her become engrossed in her phone, the more uneasy I became. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on, that I was being left in the dark. The gut feeling wouldn't leave me alone. It was gnawing at me, keeping me awake at night, and I knew I had to find out what was going on. One evening, my suspicions reached their breaking point. I watched her as she laughed softly at her phone and began typing a reply. Curiosity got the best of me, so I quietly moved closer to see what was on her screen. My heart was pounding, and I felt like a horrible person for snooping, but I had to know. What I saw left me cold. I expected to find flirty messages, maybe even photos, but what I saw was far worse. The image on her phone wasn't of some random guy. It was a gruesome picture of a man, but not in one piece. His body was dismembered, his limbs scattered across a concrete floor, and his torso split wide open, revealing a hollow chest. My stomach twisted in horror as I realized what I was looking at. It wasn't just a sick joke or a random image sent by mistake. Steph smiled at the screen like it was nothing, even giggling as she typed her response. Cute. I love how you left the eyes in the head this time, she typed, biting her lip like she was excited. I froze. What was this? Who was she talking to? What kind of conversation was this? My hands shook, and I could barely breathe as I watched the three dots appear on the screen, signaling the other person's reply. I was saving them for you, the response read. My heart raced even faster. What the hell was going on? Steph's face lit up with excitement as she typed back, You mean it? When can I come down? I must have made a sound because Steph suddenly turned around, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. What are you doing? She asked, her voice dripping with irritation. I couldn't speak. My mind was racing, trying to process what I'd just seen. I stood there staring at her like a deer caught in headlights. What the hell is wrong with you? She snapped, her voice rising in anger. How dare you invade my privacy like that? You're such an inconsiderate asshole. She stormed toward me, her open hands slapping across my face so hard I stumbled back. I was too shocked to even react. Steph had never been violent before, but there was something different about her now, something dark and unsettling lurking behind her eyes. She stormed off into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her, leaving me standing there in stunned silence. My cheek burned from the slap, but the real pain was deep inside. What had I just witnessed? Who was my wife really talking to? What was this twisted game she was playing? My mind raced with questions, but no answers came. I sat down on the couch, my head in my hands, trying to make sense of it all. As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the image of that severed man from my mind. The idea that my wife found amusement in something so horrific left me feeling sick to my stomach. What had happened to her? Was she involved in something criminal? Something worse? My thoughts spiraled as I considered all the possibilities. Maybe she needed help. Maybe this was some sort of mental breakdown. But then again, maybe I didn't know her at all. I decided I had to do something. I had to find out more. Waiting for answers wasn't an option. So when I was sure she had fallen asleep, I crept into the bedroom. There she was, lying under the covers, her breathing steady and calm, as if nothing had happened. Her phone lay on the nightstand, and for a moment I hesitated. This was my wife. Was I really going to invade her privacy again? But then I remembered that disturbing image, and I knew I had no choice. I picked up the phone, my heart pounding in my chest, and unlocked it. The messages were still there. I scrolled through, trying to find some clue about who she was talking to. Then I noticed something strange. The messages weren't coming from another number. They were coming from Steph's own phone. She had been messaging herself. My heart sank as I tried to make sense of it. Was she pretending to be someone else? Was this some kind of game she was playing with herself? I was lost in thought when the phone buzzed again. A new message appeared on the screen. Are you scared? I nearly dropped the phone in shock. What was happening? Before I could process it, Steph's body on the bed started to twitch. At first, I thought she was just turning in her sleep, but the movements became more violent, more unnatural. I called out her name, but there was no response. My skin crawled as I slowly pulled back the blanket, only to find the dismembered man from the photo staring up at me, smiling that same eerie smile. I stumbled back, my heart racing as panic set in. This couldn't be real. It had to be some kind of nightmare. But before I could react, a cold, bony hand shot out from under the bed and grabbed my ankle. I screamed, kicking it away, only to see Steph's face emerge from the darkness. Her eyes were wild and her mouth twisted into a gruesome smile, revealing sharp, pointed teeth. I told you to mind your own business, she hissed. Her voice was low, almost inhuman. She lunged at me, her teeth sinking into my leg. I kicked her off in pure terror, but she just laughed, that eerie, demonic cackle echoing through the room. The next few moments were a blur. Steph crawled back under the bed, and from the doorway, a tall, monstrous figure emerged. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Part goat, part human, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. The creature grinned as it watched me cower in fear, its deep, rumbling voice filling the room. He'll be back for you, Steph whispered from the darkness. The creature chuckled, wrapping her in its arms as they both disappeared into the night, leaving me alone with the severed man still grinning on my bed. Morning came, and I was still sitting there, too scared to move. But when I finally got up and searched the house, everything had changed. Steph was gone. Every trace of her existence had vanished, as if she had never been there. But the horror wasn't over. The severed man still lay on my bed, his dead eyes staring into nothingness. And then, just when I thought it was over, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I'll be there soon. Now I'm terrified. Every little sound makes my heart race. I know something is coming for me, and I don't know how to stop it. What do I do?